Very good evening to all of you, to all the participants, and this is Knowing the Real, Doing the Right. This is season 3 of the series of lecture series that we do, and continuing the third series, we are honored and humbled to have along with us Dr. Ashok Dalwai IAS Retired, presently CEO of National Rainfed Area Authority, and we're also honored to have amongst us retired Vice Chancellor of University of Agricultural Sciences, GKVK Bangalore. Dr. K NarayanGowda. Wishing you both a very hearty welcome and wishing all the aspirants a hearty welcome to this session. I take pleasure in introducing Dr. Ashok Dalwai, a very well-known name in India for his expertise on agricultural issues. He is presently serving as the CEO of National Rainfed Area Authority. He's been member of the Indian Administrative Services since the year 1984. He's a student of agricultural sciences with post-graduation in economics and also PhD in economics. And he served as the chairman of Interministerial Committee on Doubling Farmers' Income. A very humble and a voice that constantly resonates with the young minds in terms of his articles and continuously reaching out to the young aspirants of how he wants to keep the youngsters encouraged towards national service and service to the nation. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and being present from a remote place. And I always express this wish that we would be happy to have you along in Bangalore so that we can have a face-to-face conference very soon. So welcome you once again very formally, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Prashant. Thank you.
I now take pleasure in introducing Dr. NarayanGowda, sir. Dr. NarayanGowda hails from Kunigal Taluk, Tumkur, and with an academic experience of more than 36 years, he's guided tens together of PhD students and more than 120 research papers and popular books in his name. He was member of the 10th national and international bodies, also vice president of the Indian Society of Extension Education. He is recipient of the Swami Sahajananda Educational Extension of Scientist National Award ICAR 2009, and he's played a very significant role in ARYA. So this is the attracting and retaining youth in agriculture, which is being implemented by the Krishi Vignan Kendra since 2015. Very good friend of the India for IAS Academy and a guiding pillar to all the young aspirants, especially on issues of agriculture and to students who reach out to the personality test at the interview stage of UPSC Civil Services. Very honored and humbled to have you along, sir, as a continuous pillar of support. Welcoming you also to this session of Knowing the Real, Doing the Right, sir.
Thank you, Prashant. Thank you. Thank you.
So once again, I heartily welcome all the aspirants. Congratulations that you have reached the final stage of civil services. So you have the interview starting next month. So this will be the ultimate stage, and then you get to serve the country in the best of its respects. So this is a series of lectures that India for IAS has been organizing, the third continuous year now. And hope the first session of this lecture makes a difference and gives you a lot of adequate and right information so that you can face questions related to areas of agriculture and other allied areas. Also, both the eminent panelists are eminent enough that they'll be able to touch upon many related issues across if you have any such. So we'll have the pattern as such. Initially, for about 15 minutes, both of them can address on general note, and then they'll be taking up questions. Meanwhile, we can also have an interaction session where the participants can raise questions and we'll be able to address those questions also. So to start with, Dr. Ashok Dalwai, sir, a request for the first 10 minutes initial address.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prashant. Thank you, Mr. Srinivas. And I'm happy to join a very well-known scientist and an educational expert in Dr. NarayanGowda, the former Vice Chancellor. And I wish you all and every student who has joined here a very happy New Year, happy Makar Sankranti, and we all together pray for your success at the combined civil services examination. We congratulate you for having gone through two obstacles, the preliminary and the main exam. You're now at the final stage of personality test. We wish you the very best and sincerely hope and pray that you come out successfully and realize your dreams of life, bring a good name to your family, to the institutions that you studied, to the teachers who have taught you, and your own village, town, and the state of Karnataka. I know that it has been a Herculean task for all of you, with so many competitors running into lakhs and making through finally into the first few thousands to be called for personality test itself is a tribute to your persistence, your commitment, and your dedication to making through these civil services. So I will now share for the next 10 to 15 minutes a broad landscape about agriculture. Where do we stand today? Over the last 75 years, India has done very well. It has moved from food deficiency to food sufficiency and food surplus. Today, India produces, or in the year 2021-22, the last year, India produced 316 million tons of food grains, which includes cereals and pulses. Within the cereals, we have the staples, paddy and wheat. Then we have got maize, and then millets, which are also called as nutri-cereals. Of these 316 million tons, 26 plus million tons is on account of pulses, which means that about 290 million tons are purely cereals. Now coming to the next important segment, horticulture. We produced 336 million tons. It includes mainly fruits and vegetables, and then of course plantations, medicinal and herbals, and floriculture. So we have 336 plus 316. Then we have milk, which is next important, 205 million tons. Then after that, we have, of course, fiber crops, cotton, jute, and then sugarcane. 330 million bales of cotton, and then sugarcane. So outside these, of course, we have got meat, fish. Meat production is around 10 million tons. Fish is around 14 million tons. And then we have got several other commodities. Altogether, it is about 1.3 billion tons. That means 13 million tons. That's 13 billion tons, 13 million tons, which is 1.3 billion tons. So this is a very good progress compared to what we were in the year 2000, in the year 1947 and 1951, when the first 5-year plan was launched. Now, how this growth has been possible? Any growth in agriculture can be triggered by two important factors. One is technology. Second one is policy. So whenever we want to bring about a change, the farmers have to adopt that technology. And that involves behavioral change, which means if I am growing a particular variety today, but now science tells me to adopt another variety, then I need to be supported in changing my behavior. And behavior change will happen when the technology and policy combine to make it happen. So this growth in agriculture in India over the last 75 years has been possible because the agricultural research system of the country has given us appropriate technology. That means high-yielding varieties, for example, high-yielding breeds in cattle, high-yielding species in fish, crops, both agronomic crops and horticulture. Technology by itself may not succeed unless it is supported by policies. Policies facilitate a change. Policies incentivize the farmers and others to adopt that technology. And that policy support is very necessary because agriculture is a very risky business. There are many risks because agriculture is dependent on monsoons and other natural factors. Temperature, humidity, rainfall, which influence pests and diseases. So the external environment is not in the control of the farmers. So whatever investments the farmers may make, they may not get the benefit thereof. Therefore, incentivization through policy support is very essential. So as scientists gave us new technology, government gave us a policy support. The principal policy support has been subsidies on inputs and price support after the harvest. So as you know, there is subsidy on fertilizers, there is subsidy on water, there is subsidy on power that is used for pumping the water. So input subsidies are available. And simultaneously, we also have support on the procurement, on the price support. That means the commodities like rice and wheat, for example, and many other crops too, have got the support of minimum support price. So government announces minimum support price for Kharif, 14 Kharif crops. And it announces for 9 Rabi crops, plus 2 annual crops, the sugarcane and cotton. So altogether, 25 crops benefit from the minimum support price. The minimum support price is always notified by the government in advance of the production season, before the sowing begins. And the objective of making this notification before the sowing begins is to enable the farmers to know what might be the price they can expect after the harvest. So that means MSP serves as a price signal. So based on the price signal, the farmers can decide what to grow and what not to. Along with announcing minimum support price, government also undertakes procurement operations. So procurement of paddy, wheat, pulses, oilseeds, cotton happens, as you all know. And then, of course, sugarcane is an industrial crop where the sugar factories pay according to the statutory prices announced under the sugar control order. Now, because there has been this policy support, technology has been able to demonstrate its results. And third, of course, is extension. The public extension system has helped in transfer of technology from the research labs to the farmers' fields. So please remember three things: technology, policy support, and extension. These three together have made it possible for India to achieve this high growth. Now, how do we interpret the situation today? Because we have grown so well, can we say everything is fine? Certainly not. What we see from the analysis of the production matrix is that we have got adequate or surplus of cereals. Pulses, we are at par. That means we produce as much as we require. But oilseeds, we are deficit. And deficit is very high. The average consumption of edible oils in the country is around 25 million tons annually. But we are producing around 11 million tons only. The sources of edible oils are seasonal oilseeds like rapeseed, mustard, soybean, sunflower, safflower, groundnut. These are the primary sources. We produce around 39 million tons of oilseeds, which converts into around 11 million, less than 10 million tons of edible oil. And then we have got secondary sources: rice bran, cottonseed oil. Then third, we got tree-borne oil seeds. There are trees like karanj, for example, which also give us oil. And the fourth one is palm trees. So all these four together, we are able to produce around 11 million tons. So that implies that against the requirement of 25 million tons, we are producing 11 million tons. The shortage of 14 million tons is met by importing from Malaysia, Indonesia, mostly palm oil, and other countries like Canada and Australia, which costs a very huge sum of money. It cost nearly 1.14 lakh crore in the year 2021-22. So we are deficit in oilseeds. Coming to horticulture, there has been a very robust growth since 2005-06. For the first time in the year 2013-14, the output of horticulture equaled that of agriculture at 264 million tons. And thereafter, horticulture has been growing steadily. And today it is 336 against 316 million tons of food grains. Yet, and of this, fruits and vegetables are the primary ones. Within the vegetables, it is tomato, potato, onion, which account for the major portion. But yet, fruits and vegetables are not adequate according to our population, which means that we need to produce more. As regards eggs, milk, meat, and fish, we're seeing a very steady growth. India is number one in milk production since 1998. Because we are not producing according to the nutritional requirements of our population, we see nutritional deficiency in the people. Food security is defined by Food and Agriculture Organization as availability, accessibility, and affordability. Available means we should have enough quantity as per requirement in our country. Accessible means it should be available where the persons can go and purchase easily. Suppose it is in Bangalore, but not available, say in Mudabagilu. A poor man cannot afford to travel from Mudabagilu to Bangalore to purchase his pulses. It must be made available in Mudabagilu. That is called accessibility. Third, affordability. That means even if it is there in your village, if it is too highly priced, you cannot afford to buy. So availability, accessibility, and affordability determine the consumption patterns. So likewise, nutrition security also is a factor of these three things. In our country, there is nutritional deficiency because we have more of carbohydrates and less of proteins, less of oil seeds, less of vitamins and minerals. Fruits and vegetables give us the minerals, vitamins, and amino acids. So the short point is, we should now start producing according to the nutritional requirements of the people and not just produce for the sake of produce. Or it should not be a blind production. So third aspect is, or the second aspect concerned with production is, that are the farmers benefiting? As the figures show, farmers are also not benefiting adequately. While agriculture in India has grown, the farmers' incomes have not grown accordingly. The farmers' incomes, average incomes are low. And the incomes are correlated with the size of the landholding. That means, smaller the size of your farm, lesser is your income. Larger the size of the land, higher is the income. Since 86% of our farmers are small and marginal, obviously their average incomes are low. Country's average income of the farmers are low. You should also remember that farmers' income comprises two factors, two components. One is farm income. That means what the farmer gets from his farming. Farming includes crop husbandry, animal husbandry, fisheries, etc. Second one is non-farm component. That means he earns this money from putting up a small shop, or going and working under MG Narega, or going and working somewhere in some office. So average in India shows that the farmer's income comprises of 60% farm income and 40% non-farm income. That means non-farm income has become as important as a farm income. Once again, please remember, in case of small and marginal farmers, the share of the farm income is lesser. It is only around 35%. That means the dependence on non-farm income is more than on farm income. Only in case of large farmers, the farmers in farm income increases to around 85%, and non-farm income dependence is lesser. That is obvious. So agriculture has not really benefited our consumers to the extent it should. It has not benefited our farmers to the extent it should. Third component, ecology. As I said, agriculture is dependent on nature. It depends on the health of the natural resources like soil and water. It depends upon the climatic factors like temperature and humidity and rainfall. What we are now seeing is, because we have not practiced our agriculture scientifically, there is a compromise of the quality of water and health, water and soil. Soil has lost its soil organic carbon. And without organic carbon, soil health cannot be maintained. And water, we have used very indiscreetly. We're using more of flood water wherever it is available. We're using more of groundwater wherever we are able to access. In result, we have compromised the quality of the soil. In all the irrigated belts, we see evolution of alkaline soils, saline soils. So productivity has reduced. And wherever the dependence is on groundwater, we've extracted so much that the water table has gone down. And now it is also getting toxic. And a large number of community development blocks have been declared as dark blocks. That means we should not be extracting any water from there. So what it means is, environment, ecology, sustainability are as important as nutrition for the human beings, incomes for the farmers. So three factors that should guide agriculture development are nutritional security, income security, third one is ecological security. So these are the three things on which all other aspects will fall. Since there's not much of a time now and you will have a lot of questions, I will only say that the future agriculture programs must be guided along by these things. And at the national level, where we have geographically 329 million hectares, of this 141 million hectares is under agriculture. Normally, as per the land use policy, we should have 1/3 of the area under agriculture, 1/3 under forests, and 1/3 for other purposes. But in India, we have got more land under agriculture. 42% of India's total geographical land is under agriculture. Globally, the average is 31 to 32%. That means in India, we have allotted more land for agriculture. Naturally, we have diverted the forest areas for agriculture. We have diverted common property resource like pasture lands for agriculture. So the area under forest in India is only 22%, as against the required ratio of 33%. Now, with increasing demand for land, for infrastructure, industry, habitations, agricultural land will also get diverted. If that happens, the only way for us is to increase the productivity so that within less area, we're able to produce more. So we need to keep that also in mind. And alongside that, the important point you should remember that within the agriculture sector, now the growth rates are better in fisheries and aquaculture, in livestock and horticulture. Agronomic crops cannot grow at a very high rate. They'll grow at around 2.5%, 3%. Whereas horticulture can grow at around 6 to 7%. Livestock can grow at 9 to 10%. Fishery can grow even at 13 to 14%. We need to now focus more on fisheries, aquaculture, livestock, and horticulture so that we are able to tap greater potential of the agriculture sector in India, achieve nutritional security, produce more employment options, and simultaneously maintain balance. So that is another factor that we should keep in mind. The last point I would tell you is that agriculture so far has been production-centric. We wanted to produce because there was deficiency. Now that we know we can produce more than what we can consume, we need to start focusing on post-harvest management. Without proper post-harvest management, we will have problems of storing it, transporting it in a scientific manner. Because we do not have proper agri-logistics in our country, that means storage and transportation, processing, a lot of food is wasted. Various studies show different figures, but certainly the range of wastage varies from 6% for cereals to 20 to 25% for horticulture. The loss is of a very huge quantity. We therefore now need to focus on our post-harvest technology, post-harvest infrastructure, that is called agri-logistics. Then we'll be able to link the farm gates with the markets and wherever there is a demand. And along with it, we need to take up agro-processing because it generates employment, it improves the shelf life, and then focus on improving market so that the farmers are able to get remunerative prices. So post-harvest management, consisting of agri-logistics, processing, and markets, these three together will ensure that whatever is produced is reaching where it should reach. And then it will help the farmers to get remunerative prices. And because we do not have this scientific and robust post-harvest management technology and infrastructure, we see price variations, price fluctuations, and of course, wastage. So today, it is now time that we focus on production as well as post-production, which means that we follow what is called an agricultural value chain approach from one end to another. and not on just one segment. So when you do all these things, we'll be able to improve the productivity, total volume of production, and also meet the demands of the consumers, that is growing population of India, meet the demands of the farmers for better incomes, and also ensure sustainability. So I will stop here, and I've seen a lot of your questions. We'll take them subsequently. So I've just wanted to give you a broad picture of agriculture, and you should be able to then fit in whatever you read within this particular contour. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was in brief, but a very comprehensive understanding of the present state of agriculture and what is the future that we have to look at. Thank you so much for that brief. I now hand it over to Dr. NarayanGowda, sir, for your initial remarks, after which we'll be moving on to the questions.
Yeah, thank you, Prashant. Having heard to Dr. Ashok Dalwai ji, possibly have any space to supplement from the overview of what is to be looked at from agriculture perspective. He has given a vast account of the journey that we have passed through right from 1947 till today, particularly in making India self-sufficient in food and even surplus. These issues are being very effectively put forth. And the other allied sectors, we are also very happy about the growth rate at which we have gone. And in almost all these cases, we are finding a surplus, except the pulses and oilseeds where we are deficient. And we need to work on these important crops where we should stop importing both pulses and oilseeds to meet our domestic requirement. And he has also made a mention that the post-harvest losses are so much. And once we are able to have a full control over these things, certainly we can even increase the food production over and above 316, including horticulture, over and above 330, more than that. And that particular area can be made good for the crops like pulses and oilseeds, wherein we should avoid importing any of these things from other countries, spending such a huge exchequer from the country. This is the area that needs a lot of attention by the country from the future of our Indian agriculture. Of course, Dr. Dalwai has made a very good mention on the so-called natural resources. What's happening to the soil health, the water availability or water usage, and the post consequences regarding the indiscriminate use of certain inputs, resulting in pests and diseases, and the other aspects which are equally important. How to have a full management of these things is an issue that bothers or that is very important before us. In fact, if India were to make use of what is going as a waste, even we can increase the total GDP of the country considerably. There is so much of scope, but we can't give an exact picture because this is being given different coatings at different points of time. But nevertheless, there is so much of opportunity to increase our national income if wastages are being put forth. Even the food wastages also, we have made some studies, the US, Bangalore, almost a decade back, and it has been surfaced at the ACR level also in the recent years. And naturally, those are the areas where we have so much of opportunity to, if not totally 100% control, minimize the losses by through proper education. Then what's happening today as far as the farmers are concerned? Although we are happy about the food production, self-sufficiency, other things, but the conditions of the farmers are not comfortable as it was earlier. The major reason is the profit margin, what is being derived by the farmers, which has also been mentioned by Darwaiji, that is declining considerably, which the farmers are so much disturbed. Given the choice, what is the mindset of the farmers across the country today? They want to move to the non-agriculture sector from the agriculture sector, since agriculture is found to be less remunerative as in today. Then, if you want to really make the farmers to be comfortable in the farming, it is a big challenge before us, but not an impossible one. That's the area we need to look at. A step further from this, if you ask younger generation today, particularly the farm youth, they say that we don't want to continue the farming because somehow we are not getting the required profit. Therefore, we want to move to the non-agriculture. Then our worry and more concern is, if this younger generation who are in the age of 20 to 35 or 40, if they move from the agriculture sector, what will be the fate of Indian agriculture to ensure the food security and other things in the coming years? You also know what was the food production in 1947, 48 when we got the independence. It was around 50 million tons, and the population was around 38 uh, uh, crores. Now it is more than 125, 130 crores. Of course, the recent data is yet to be available, but it is anything around 130 plus crores. But the food production is around 316, as rightly mentioned. That means the food production has gone by more than six folds in the last 75 years. Population growth is around 3.5 times. Therefore, we have got not only surplus but also capable of exporting to other countries, particularly cereals. Wheat and rice are being exported a couple of years from India. That's all. All of you are aware of that fact. But our concern is how to make this food production sustainable to meet the growing population in the coming years. One important aspect is we have to hold the younger generation to be in the farming. That's one thing. And of course, the increasing the productivity in the case of cereals and these areas is very, very marginal, hardly 2.5 to 3%. Unlike in fruits and vegetables, the productivity is much higher for the regions. So, to match with the growing population, we have to look for increasing the productivity so that we should not look forward anymore, stretching our hands to other countries as far as the basic requirements are concerned. We want to be always self-sufficient in those things. Of course, the the commercial crops also, we are on the one side finding sufficient production, but sometimes so much of challenge. Suppose you take sugarcane. The last 10 years, the farmers are struggling to get a profitable price, although MSP has been declared in the recent years. But still, farmers are not very, very comfortable. Then, what is the total concern that should be looked at in the present context of agriculture and allied sectors? In my considered view, has also made a positive remarks by Darwaiji that we need to have a data on the total requirement the country needs for all these things. Once that is in hand, then we can produce what is the total requirement and also maintain a respectable profit margin so that the farmers can be comfortable and happy to continue the farming. Unless we provide this increased or respectable profit for the farmers, even if you make all other types of what is called advisors, I don't think a farmer can be very comfortable in the farming. That's the area we need to give a lot of attention. Once the profit margin increases, certainly the farmers will be happy to stay back. Keeping this particular issue, we conducted a national seminar way back in 2011, how to attract the youth in the farming. And sequel to that, the outcome of that has attracted the attention of the our planning commission and others, including the ICR. And that point of time, they requested UAS Bangalore to give a comprehensive report on how to attract the younger generation, the farming. And we gave a report, and finally, ICR was good enough to start implementing from 2015. And now it has been implemented in more than 200 districts of the country, but through the KVKs. But the question is, my concern is it should have been taken up for the entire country, because the problems are not confined to these 200 districts or a couple of districts. It's a countrywide issue, how to make the farming profitable. So, if we can address this particular area through, of course, what we are strongly advocating is to go for secondary agriculture. Secondary agriculture has so much of benefit for the farmers to get higher profits than what they were realizing through the sale of raw-based producers. Just to quote an example, you take the cost of a kg of potato. Potato for last 10 years, if you take, it has gone from anything between 10 to 15 and maximum 20 rupees per kg. And sometimes it has even gone to 2 rupees. Back in 2017-18, there was a big galata in Maharashtra, in Madhya Pradesh, because the prices of potato crashed down, and the farmers started making a big strike. And in fact, in Lati charge, the two farmers died, and that was the type of extreme situation I'm quoting. My point of concern is around this time, if you take last 10 or 15 years, the potato prices varied from like even 2 rupees to 15 or even 20 rupees. But if you take potato chips, it is going anything between 300 to 500 rupees per kg. So what I'm trying to say, in every crop, there is so much of opportunity for validation processing. This not only minimizes the post-harvest losses, but also gives higher rate of income for the farmer. And there is opportunity for exporting to other countries, because you can take up this sale during the months or years where there is a huge demand in the other part of the globe. So with this few remarks, I only again congratulate each one of you for having get passed the mains. It's a big challenging one, I knew, and it's a big outcome that all of you have got it, and wish this interview will be also equally good for you, and any additional questions, clarification we're going to provide at the end. But each of you are quite potential, and I hope you will be getting through with this type of exposures, what Srinivas and team is organizing very often. Possibly it makes you to be more strong and competitive to face this upcoming interview. All the best wishes for you. We'll take questions because you already given a couple of questions, which will be more specific for your interest of concern, so that we like to answer together. So over to Prashant for taking forward. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for those initial remarks. We'll now take some questions which students have already sent to us in prior. And we have an ideal combination of a bureaucrat who has been part of the implementation from the government side, and a very senior, eminent academician who has done his research on the ground level and also has worked with government very closely on the implementation side. So the questions are very wide ranged. The first question is regarding doubling farmers' income. So students would want to know the factors that have influenced the larger idea of doubling farmers' income, and why is that we are still not able to achieve the larger dream. The target was 2022. So, Dr. Dalwai, sir.
Yeah, Prashant, thank you very much. See, now it is 5:45, right? 5:51.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so since I have traveled tonight,
Yes, sir.
okay, so I will have to go to my home, pack up and start to airport. I'll spend another half an hour here, okay?
Sure.
So what I will do is that various questions that you have shared, okay? Briefly, I will quickly go through these questions, right?
Yes.
And maybe if required another day, I can come and give a further clarifications, okay? So don't mind. And I'll also beg pardon of my senior colleague, Dr. NarayanGowda also. So now let us start off with DFI. Now, see, first thing is that, the way the question has been put, why have we not achieved doubling farmers' income, is not the right question, because the target period for DFI strategy is 2022-23. Though it is called 2022, as you know, we'll have to go up to the end of the financial year, because in our country, the growth rates, changes are all measured with respect to the financial year. So the process of transformation is continuing, and that will go on up to March 2023. Second, it is not possible at this stage to say whether we have achieved or not achieved. The reason is that evaluation of the farmer's income will be done only after that, after 2023. So we can know where we are at that particular point of time. Third one is that in our country, we do not have annual surveys of the farmers' incomes. We do it at certain intervals through what is called Situation Assessment Survey. It is the National Sample Survey Office, NSSO, which undertakes situation assessment survey of the agricultural households and measures the average incomes for the agricultural year. So the agricultural year is July to June of the succeeding year. Unlike the financial year, it will be from July. For example, if we evaluate next year, it will be for the period July 2023 to June 2024. That is the third thing. Fourth, what are the indicators? Now, in the absence of a survey by NSSO, we can only go by what are called proxy indicators. Proxy indicators means what has been the change in some critical basic factors relating to the growth. Now, our committee on DFI has suggested 7 sources of income growth. That means we said the income growth can happen provided we achieve changes in respect of these 7 sources. First one is increase in the cropping productivity. Second one is increase in livestock productivity. Third one is improvement in resource use efficiency. That means land, labor, capital, etc. Fourth one is increase in cropping intensity. Fifth one is increase in transfer of real remunerative prices to the farmers. That means better marketing conditions. And then next one is transfer of surplus manpower from agriculture to non-agriculture. And one more is increase in diversification of agriculture. That means movement towards high-value agriculture. So now if I go by these 7 sources, the 7th source, transfer of surplus manpower from agriculture to non-agriculture, is not in the hands of Ministry of Agriculture. It will depend upon the economic growth of other factors, other sectors like manufacturing, services, which demand surplus manpower and therefore are able to absorb the surplus manpower in agriculture. But other 6 sources are within our domain. So our figures show that there is an increase in productivity. Between 2016-17 to 2022 now, there is an increase in productivity across the crops. For us, 2015-16 is a base year. And the target period begins with 2016-17. So if we compare the productivity of major crops, whether in agronomic crops or horticulture crops or livestock, dairy, fishery, we find that there is increase in productivity. That means both crop productivity and livestock productivity has increased. Third, cropping intensity. Yes, there is an increase in cropping intensity. We were at around 149% in 2015-16. Today it is 154%. Then, as regards the resource use efficiency, that means how efficiently are we using the resources. There are 2 aspects here. One is, yes, inputs have got costlier because of inflation. Simultaneously, resource use efficiency because of certain government policies has also improved. Because let us say soil health card. Because soil health card is there, the people know how to use more rationally the fertilizers. Micro irrigation area has increased. Irrigation area has increased. Now the drone technology is available. So all these things help in better use of our resources. So we can say that there is some change also there. Then what about movement towards high value agriculture, diversification towards high value agriculture? As I told you, compared to 2015-16, the output of horticulture has increased much more than what has happened in agriculture sector. Today, people are taking to horticulture. They are moving towards livestock, fisheries. So there is a diversification towards the high value agriculture. When I say high value, that means you get better returns when you grow horticulture, livestock compared to, say, cereals. Then what about the marketing opportunities? Today, marketing opportunities are better than what it were because we are making a lot of investments under Atmanirbhar Bharat in building new storage facilities, cold storage facilities, buying reefer vans. Processing has got a support from the government through various initiatives. For example, we have got PMFE, Prime Minister's Formalization of Micro Food Enterprises. We have got Atmanirbhar Bharat, under which agriculture infrastructure fund worth rupees 1 lakh crore for agriculture. We have got rupees 20,000 crores under annual husbandry infrastructure fund. We have got likewise 20,000 crore for fishery and aquaculture infrastructure fund. Then we have got rupees 10,000 crores for, as I told you, Prime Minister's formalization of micro food enterprises. PM Sampada Yojana. All these things are definitely helping post-harvest management. Then we have got Farmer Producers Organization. So several initiatives that government has made would have helped the farmers to get better returns. So as I explained, the 6 sources of growth which are within our control have all seen a positive change. So we expect that the farmers' returns are much better today than what it was in 2015-16. Whether it has doubled compared to 2015-16, I cannot say, or nobody can say at this stage without evaluation. So if they ask you a question, you can only say that. We don't have any figures. But then the various policy interventions that I suggested to you show that there is a change. And these are what are called proxy indicators. Otherwise, how have we increased our food grain output from 264 million tons in 13-14 to 360 million tons today? So whether it is fish or milk or dairy or what is, all have seen increase. So that is about DFI. And second, I can see a question. Despite more, despite more schemes, there are still ghost beneficiaries or improper scheme implementation. Yes, it is a continuous effort. Delivery of services is a continuous effort. Now, as we take up more and more digitization, that means we are able to identify every single person and ensure that the service delivery happens directly to that person. There will be some ghost applications, ghost beneficiaries. But as you know, India is the first country to adopt a unique identity number called Aadhaar. Aadhaar, it identifies the person uniquely, and therefore there cannot be 2 persons claiming the same person claiming 2 benefits. Second, under the financial inclusion, Jan Dhan Yojana, we have now given bank accounts to all the people. Third, there is a mobile number which most people carry. As many as 800 million sets of mobile phones are there in the country, which of course all are not smartphones, at around 500 million are smartphones. So the power of Jan Dhan Yojana, Aadhaar number and mobile called JAM has enabled the government to adopt what is called direct benefit transfer, DBT. So most schemes in agriculture as well as in other sectors, welfare, social welfare, they're all coming under DBT. So in due course of time, we'll be able to weed out these ghost beneficiaries. And then India has been implementing NEGPA, National Electronic Governance Program in agriculture since 2007-8. So we have made a lot of progress. Now in our ministry is building a centralized database of all the farmers. So we will be able to have a record of every farmer in the country. Once you have that, we'll be able to ensure that the transfers happen very systematically. So that will be addressed. Then you are saying soil health card scheme, despite this, there is still high use of fertilizer. Yes, that is true. The reason is that not only do we need technology, we also need changes in the behavior. So the farmers may have got soil health card, which is based on sample analysis of the soils. It gives the farmers the status of his farm with respect to 3 macronutrients called nitrogen, potassium, and phosphate. Secondary nutrient called sulfur. 5 micronutrients like zinc, iron, molybdenum, copper, and one more, I forget. And 3 physico-chemical properties, organic carbon, electric conductivity, and pH. So when we give them the data with respect to these 12 parameters to the farmer, then he is advised as to what he should use and what he should not use. Notwithstanding this, the farmers may still not be adopting the rational practices because they may still have doubt. So which only means that we will have to continuously make efforts to change the behavior. But certainly there is a change because various studies show us that the consumption of fertilizers has got rationalized today, is much better than what it was. Simultaneously, we have got a little anomaly in the policy of fertilizers. Nitrogen is available to the farmers at fixed price. That means he gets more subsidy on nitrogen. Whereas phosphate and potassium is what is called NBS, nutrient-based subsidy, where we fix the subsidy and he has to buy the fertilizer at the prevailing market rate. Whereas in nitrogen, there is a maximum retail price and the balance is borne by the government as subsidy. So in short, since urea is available more cheaply, he tends to use more urea and less of phosphate and potassium. Therefore, if we want to achieve total balance, we need to make further changes to our policies and strengthen our extension so that the farmers change and begin to adopt soil health management. Then you are talking about poor mechanization of agriculture in India. Why is there no customization of machines and research thereof? Yes, you are right. That yes, our consumption of farm power is still around 2.8 kilowatts per hectare. We are targeting to reach around 4 kilowatts in due course of time. You have asked a right question. Given the small size of our farms, we need machines which are smaller, tractors, more power tillers, other kinds of devices must all be such that they are able to meet the small size requirements. Then there is a change in the topography. There are plain lands, there are hilly areas, rolling topography. So we'll need different kinds of machines for different areas. Then we need different machines for field crops like, say, jawar. For mango will require something else. For dairy will require something else. So we need further research, designing of machineries, and making them available. And since farmers cannot afford to buy, we need more of custom hiring centers so that they can take them on rent. They can take them on lease. So we need, that means much more intervention in order to increase the mechanization in agriculture sector, which is necessary. Including at the harvesting stage, we need this kind of a intervention. Then you talked about organic agriculture. Yes, what is organic agriculture? That is, the generic term is called as conservation agriculture. That means you conserve your resources. The intensive agriculture, which we are practicing today, that means we practice agriculture by adopting varieties which respond to intensive use of inputs like fertilizers, water. And we have not taken care of organic carbon because mechanization is increasing, the livestock population is decreasing, farmyard manure we are not able to make. Organic carbon in the soil has reduced drastically. It has come down to an average of 0.2 or sometimes even 0.1 in rainfed areas. But organic carbon is very important because it supports microbial activity. And without microbial activity, we cannot have proper soil health. That means there's no aeration, there's no infiltration. So this is all important to maintain soil health. So conservation agriculture focuses on building soil organic carbon. So there are different kinds of soil conservation agriculture. One is organic farming system. One is natural farming system. Then there are many other systems, but primarily these are the two dominant ones. But the challenge is how do we maintain the productivity? That suppose we adopt only conservation agriculture. While we are improving our soil health, the challenge would be to maintain the high productivity. And in a growing population in India, we need to also increase the productivity. So we need to balance and see that we promote conservation agriculture without compromising the nation's food security. So the alternate is therefore what is called integrated nutrient management. That means we add only that much of fertilizer as is minimally required. We take care of soil organic carbon by promoting vermicompost, farmyard manure, and different kinds of green manuring crops. Then integrated farming systems, where not just one crop, but different kinds of crops, horticulture and agronomic crops, dairy, livestock, all these things are combined. So alternate technology that makes use of the natural resources in a more efficient manner will be the answer in the long run. However, government is promoting organic farming. It has got a specific scheme for this. It gives the farmers rupees 50,000 per acre to convert from inorganic to organic farming systems for a period of 3 years. Similarly, under natural farming, also government gives facilities. And then certification systems are there. We have got two systems, participatory guarantee system and NPOP. PGS is a participatory approach. And within India, if you want to sell your produce, PGS is all right. But if you want to export, you have to adopt NPOP. So government trains the people, educates the people, and puts in place systems of certification to promote both NPOP and PGS, depending upon the demand of the farmers. All right. Then you talked about the issue of supply chain management and post-harvest losses. Yes, as I told you, there's a huge loss. In fact, a study by CIFET in 2015 showed that the loss of agriculture produce was as high as rupees 93,000 crores. That was 10% of the agriculture GVA in that year. So we need better storage facilities, both dry storage and cold storage. We need integrated cold chain systems so that we are able to transport our commodities from one place to another in a scientific manner. That means we need large number of reefer vans. We need pack houses. We need ripening chambers. We also need dry godowns which are warehouse compliant. All these things will ensure that the loss is minimal. And alongside this, we need processing, agro-processing, both food processing and non-food processing. So we need to build supply chains. Supply chain means connecting the produce from the farm gate up with the consumption center. That's called supply chain. So we need to build good supply chains, domestic supply chains, as well as global supply chains. That will become part of the global chain, which means that There is a connectivity between road and rail, air, ship. All these things have to be connected. If I originate my tomato in Kolar district, I want to export it to Abu Dhabi, then I should know from Kolar, how do I go to Bombay, the nearest port? And from that port, how does it go to Abu Dhabi? And while I transport, in what way do I transport? So I think all these things must be kept in mind. And then that's how we build strength in supply chain. Then you asked about farm bills. Yes, farm bills are required. Farm bills, when you talk of farm bills, you're talking about three things. But only one of them is important bill, that is called trade, interstate trade. Why do you need interstate trade bill or act? APMCs are all state specific. But today, the country is one. The produce in one state can be demanded in another state. When we enable transition of agriculture commodities from one place to another without any hindrance, then there is even spread out of the commodities. So wherever there is a demand, people will buy it. Let us say Kolar, once again, tomato. If we are not able to reach the tomato of Kolar to Bangalore, for example, or from Bangalore to Belgaum, or from Belgaum to Delhi, naturally the farmers stand to lose because there is surplus production in Kolar. Everything cannot be eaten in Kolar district. Kolar produces for other states also. So we must reach other states. And only when you have a central trade act, which allows for trade across the states, we will benefit the farmers. Therefore, we need a central trade act. And we hope that it will come back. Now, the questions would be, what is your opinion? Your opinion should be this, that yes, we need a central trade act, but it should be such that we should not promote monopoly. We should ensure that there are alternate trade channels so that no single person becomes a monopoly. APMCs cannot become monopolies. Trade law should not become a monopoly. We should also have APMCs. We should also have trade law so that alternate channels are there. Farmers can go wherever they get a good price. So that is called transparency, competitiveness. We should not have cartelization, monopoly. If we want this central trade law, that means we also need amendment to the Essential Commodities Act, EC Act 1954. Why? Under the EC Act today, governments have got authority to say you cannot store more than this, that you cannot transport more than this. If we want the private people to buy commodities and store, naturally, they should not be restrained. And therefore, we need to have amendments to the EC Act and allow the private trade to participate. Only when there are more buyers, farmers will have a demand. If there's more demand, farmers get a good price. So EC Act needs to be amended. And then Contract Farming Act is there. That was also withdrawn. But we have shared a model Contract Farming Act with the state governments. The states are free to adopt Contract Farming Act, even though there is no central Contract Farming Act. Many states have already done it. So contract farming can be still promoted when in the absence of the central act. Therefore, if you are asked a question, you should say, yes, we need to liberalize because production has got fractured due to small size of farms. But marketing should also not get fractured. We should therefore need to have one nation, one market, but it should be based on competition, based on objective criteria, based on transparency. And therefore, we should deploy even digital technology so that we're able to connect one market with the another. Okay. Then what else is there? Impact of Russia.
I would request you to touch upon the issue related to World Trade Organization's regulations and also about the specific war impact in terms of the trade on agricultural goods.
Yeah, so let's say impact of Russia-Ukraine war. See, it is in a way an advantage as well as a disadvantage. What has happened? Ukraine and Russia were the two primary actors in the war. They produce a lot of wheat and sunflower. and they used to export. Now, because there is a war, they are not able to export. So that gives an opportunity to countries like India to fill the gap. So that is an advantage. But the disadvantage is that fertilizer and other kinds of inputs have grown costlier. It is a disadvantage. The supply chains have got broken. So the impact of Russia-Ukraine war is an advantage and simultaneously disadvantage. And as you have seen, the fertilizer prices have gone up. The petroleum products have got costlier. So on account of this, it has got a cascading effect on production of agriculture, because without fertilizer, fertilizer prices go up, the cost of production goes up. If petroleum products gets costly, then consumption of petroleum and other energy products gets costlier. So this is both a positive side and a negative side, which only means to say India has to counter it by producing higher quantums of agriculture. There may be an opportunity to sell, but if we do not produce quality goods, they're not going to buy. For example, Egypt refused to buy India's wheat, though there was an opportunity. Egypt is to depend upon Ukraine. When Ukraine could not supply, when we wanted to sell, they did not buy. So it's very important that we produce commodities as per the standards of different countries. Quality standards are very important. So our farmers have to be taught, encouraged to focus on both quantity and quality, because there are standards, European standards, United States standards. So under the plant quarantine measures, there are standards laid out. So we have to take care of it. So that is another important thing. And related to this, of course, is the duty structure. What is the import and export duty structure? Suppose we have bans on exporting, then naturally our farmers cannot take advantage of the global market. So Ukraine, in Russian-Ukraine war has been both a plus and a minus side, but we need not measure ourselves with respect to only these 2 years. We now learn that such opportunities will come up, and we start preparing ourselves for export market. Therefore, we have an export policy today. In 2018, we adopted a national agri-commodities agri-export policy, where our target is to reach $100 billion of exports. We have now reached $50 billion from 36. But still it is very small. It is a small percentage of the global trade. So if India is a large producer, it should be also a major player in the global market, which we are not yet. So that is the impact about the Russia, Ukraine. Okay. Then we're talking about wastage due to improper lack of food processing. Already I've shared with you that we should focus on both food processing and non-food processing. Food processing is now around 9% of the total production in agriculture, which is still small. Like Malaysia, Indonesia have already reached 30%. America has reached 70%. So if we are able to increase from 10% to 20%, 30%, we'll be able to reduce the wastage. Simultaneously, we'll generate a lot of employment, because food processing industry has a huge potential to produce employment. So this is a double advantage. India needs jobs, and simultaneously farmers will be able to capture better value. So we should promote food processing. Alongside, we should also have non-food processing. Non-food processing means using this agriculture produce to produce non-consumables. Let's say, for example, we produce fuels, for example. From sugarcane, we produce fuels, not just sugar. That is a non-food processing, right? So whether it is the livestock or in the fisheries or in the agriculture, horticulture, we'll be able to generate a lot of non-food processing elements. Let's say coconut. Apart from coconut fronds are there. Let us say we use the biomass to produce ethanol, methane, biochar, biofuels. So different kinds of commodities which are non-food can also be produced. So non-food processing, India is still at a very, very basic stage. Not more than 2% of our agri-produce is used for non-food processing. So we need to focus both on food processing and non-food processing. And therefore, this double burning you're talking about automatically gets. So India produces nearly 768 million tons of crop residues, all the biomass, which is wasted. A part of it is used for fodder. A lot of it is burnt on the farms, which is adding to the pollution. So it's very important that we use our resources. So there are biotechnology is available, bioprocessing, bioengineering, new technology is available. We should know how to convert this, for example, biomass into ethanol, or use sorghum, corn, all these kind of crops to produce large number of starches. Starches are utilized in producing in paper, textile, pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals. So we need processing and then in order to help the farmers to connect with the processing industry, we need aggregation because they're all small farmers. The volumes of production is so very, very small. So we therefore need to connect, help the farmers in aggregate the produce, and then connect them with the markets, industry, etc. So that will help us in reducing the stubble burning. Then Israeli model in agriculture. What is Israeli model? Israeli model is nothing but resource use efficiency by deploying technology. So that is called precision agriculture. So what is precision agriculture? We use only that much minimal required in order to achieve high productivity. Let us say micro irrigation is one method. When we give water, the farmers have surface water, that is a flooding system. When you use flooding system of irrigation, soil erosion happens, soils become saline, and simultaneously productivity gets less. So what we should be doing is adopt new technology. If you use micro irrigation, for example, like sprinkler, drip irrigation, the water consumption comes down by nearly 50%. Because plants don't require as much water as we are giving. And because we give the right quantum of water, the productivity increases by nearly 25 to 30%. So there is a lesser use of resources and higher productivity. This is one system. So whether it is soil health management, whether it is water management, pesticide management, or harvesting, these are all nothing but deployment of technologies for a more climate smart agriculture, for a precision agriculture, precise. So, but newer technologies, polyhouses, so that we are able to control the humidity, temperature, and grow crops within the polyhouses. So these are all nothing but what are called commonly as Israeli technologies. But India has also begun to adopt these things. For example, micro irrigation area is now nearly 13 million hectares in our country. We have been adding nearly 1 million hectare every year under micro irrigation. Now drone policy has been adopted and drone usage has been allowed, for example, in agriculture. Now the new application, new apps, etc. have come up. So the precise system of agriculture is also catching up, but we certainly need to accelerate the pace of it. Then farm loan waivers. See now, by and large, there are arguments for and against. When do you take a loan waiver? When the farmers have reached a stage where there is absolutely no way out of it. But then, as you know, whenever we have done this thing, it has got a lot of negative impact on the fiscal side. After all, governments also have limited amount of money. If we now take up loan waiver, then there is less money available for capital investments. Simultaneously, at the farmers level, many farmers who are regular payees feel that somebody who has not been paying gets a benefit. I have been paying regularly and I am punished. So it has got a double-edged sword it may create a negative behavioral change at the farmers level and also disturb the macro level fiscal management. So normally loan waiver is not, generally not supported by the economists or the policymakers. What we should be really doing is help the farmers to get institutional credit. Today, around 52% of our farmers are covered under the institutional credit. That means they're able to get production loan from the cooperative societies, from the banks, regional rural banks. We need to ensure that 100% of the farmers are able to get institutional credit because they need loan to buy technology, to buy the fertilizers, water. If they do not get it, they go to the money lenders where it is very costly. So we must therefore cover all the farmers under Kisan Credit Card. So with the benefit of Kisan Credit Card, they'll be able to access the loans more easily and then give it at a concessional rate. Today, for example, there is a basic interest concession of 2%. Market rates are 9%. 2% concession is given under interest subvention. So he gets it at 7%. In addition, if he makes a prompt repayment, he gets 3% additional concession. So in effect, he gets 5% concession on the loan and he pays only 4% interest rate. So we should, expand this system. And we're seeing that, for example, in 2014-15, the volume of credit given was 8.5 lakh crores. Today, it has reached 16.5 lakh crores. That means more and more money is going to the farmers, and we should further liberalize this thing. Okay. Okay. India has surplus produce of cereals, but deficit. I have explained to you already this. Yes, that is bad. Therefore, we should produce what is called market-led production. That means assess what is the demand, what is the requirement, and then incentivize the farmers to grow accordingly. That is the only way. That means you try to balance supply and demand. Only when you're able to balance supply and demand, we'll be able to reach a proper equilibrium price in the market. Price volatility is a concern for vegetable growers. Yes, price volatility happens because one, there may not be enough production. Second, there's no proper distribution. Vegetable is a perishable commodity. It grows in certain areas. It does not grow elsewhere. But demand is everywhere. So the price volatility happens. We should therefore be able to strengthen our agri-logistics. Therefore, we have got what is called Operation Greens. Under the Operation Greens, the objective is to strengthen agri-logistics, storage systems, cold storage, integrated cold storage, transportation, and see that the distribution happens more even. Take the case of onion. We grow onion in normally 3 to 4 states: Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, Madhya Pradesh. But onion is consumed everywhere. And there is white variety and red variety. People prefer red variety. And onion is required 12 months of the year. But whereas it is grown only in one season. So we need to see that what we produce in one season and in a few states is distributed properly across the country. So we need better storage, better transportation. So when this happens, the monopoly practices will be broken. And because of absence of storage and transportation, monopolists are there. About 100 businessmen in the country control the entire onion production. One market, Vasi market, controls everything. So we need to build alternate markets so that the businessmen in one market are not controlling this thing. So ultimately, price volatility, price fluctuations, all these are signs of imperfections in the market. We need more markets, transparency, objectivity, deployment of digital technology, and knowledge sharing, information sharing. Because farmers don't know how the information, they are cheated. So information asymmetry has to be addressed. So these are all the factors that must be taken into account. Okay. How to address the issues of marketing? I told you that we need alternate markets. We need efficient APMCs. We need aggregation platforms called GRAMs. Government of India, based on DFI report, has said that it will build 22,000 number of Grameen agriculture markets at the Gram Panchayat level, so that farmers are able to produce, aggregate their produce. Then from grams, you go to APMCs, then export, then alternate trading channels under the trade law. So when you have these alternate systems, then farmers have got the choice to go to any market he wants to go. Then he's not subjected to monopoly practices. So that's the only way. And simultaneously encourage contract farming so that the farmers are able to transfer their risks. Because in contract farming, you enter into an agreement with the buyer before the sowing season. And the agreement is that you will buy my commodity at this price, and I promise to deliver this commodity. So even if the prices come down, the buyer is expected to buy at that rate. That's the agreement. So we need to strengthen contract farming systems. Then growth rate of cropping is stagnant, but allied activities are double digit and all. Yes, you're right. Product, not that the growth rates in agriculture, field crops is stagnant. It's not stagnant, but the growth is slow. The reason is that it is already grown. And genetically, the potential is not as good as in horticulture. Horticulture, average productivity can be 19 to 20 tons per hectare. 19 to 20 tons per hectare. Agronomic crops are what are called field crops, paddy, wheat, jawar. They can never reach that 90 to 20 tons. So, since we had not focused earlier on horticulture, dairy, livestock, today there's greater focus. They are growing better, which means we should now encourage those further. Ultimately, we need food and nutrition, but whether it is from plant source, animal source, horticulture source, does not matter. So we will have to, that is there. If we want to register good growth rates, we should be able to, promote all these things. Okay, I think I've covered most of the things. I'm so sorry that I'm not able to sit for a longer period, but I can come to you another time. And since I've got my flight at 9 o'clock, I need to go. So excuse me, but you are free. Your last question I'll ask is, should MSP be legalized? According to me, it should not be legalized. When you legalize minimum support price, what does it mean? I mean, what you are actually meaning is procurement. MSP is legal, it is notified. What you are asking is whether procurement of all commodities at MSP should be legalized. What is the meaning? If we say that all the commodities must be purchased by government at MSP, that means there is no free market, no? It becomes a nationalization. If we nationalize everything, then there is no private sector. All the traders, everything will close, and no government can afford to buy everything. Suppose 1.3 billion tons of agriculture produce. It's going to cost lakhs and lakhs of crores of rupees. Government cannot afford to buy everything. If it buys everything, what does it do? After all, something will be consumed. What are the balance? It has to sell somewhere. Otherwise, if it is not able to sell, it won't have money for next year. And if you want to sell in the global market, then what happens? You will need to be competitive. Suppose wheat, if Russia is able to sell at a lower price than what India is selling, then nobody is going to purchase the Indian wheat. So MSP, the problem is when you purchase everything at MSP, first, there will not be enough money. Second, you will not know how to use it. Third, you become less competitive. You become less competitive. Less competitive in the global market. Therefore, according to me, the way forward is, yes, farmers must get good prices. The way forward, therefore, is to strengthen our markets, create efficiency in market through transparency, digital technology like eNAM, and simultaneously also procure. Whenever the prices fall in the market, government procures. Like, for example, today we procure nearly 33% of wheat and paddy, 10% of pulses, around 8% of oil seeds. Sugarcane, as you know, everything is procured. So, MSP and MS procurement should be always combined with markets. So market operations are very important. You cannot nationalize everything and kill the private market, because government will not be able to afford it. So that is what I would like to say. So I think I've answered most of them, so we'll stop it here.
Yes.
Is it
Thank
okay,
you so
Mr.
much.
Prashant?
Thank you so much for the time, and very insightful in terms of handling the specific questions, and also a broader insight in terms of a larger set of questions. Thank you so much for the time, and thank you so much for addressing the questions that all aspirants had. And hope you have a good journey ahead, and hope to see you soon in Bangalore face to face.
Yeah, certainly I'll see you, Prashant. Thank you so much, and I wish all the candidates the very best, and look forward to every one of them clearing this, and hope to see their names in the successful list of the candidates announced by the UPSC this year. So once again, all the best, and God bless you, and congratulations to your organization, India for IAS, where you are taking so much of initiative in enabling the students from Karnataka to get to the civil services. So congratulations and best wishes to you too. And I will beg pardon of Dr. NarayanGowda ji that I'm leaving, and I'm sure he'll be there with you. So thank you very much, and see you all again once again. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, for a wonderful, informative talk.
Thank you.
You have covered everything. Possibly, there is hardly anything for me to speak, but still, I'll just supplement certain things which are maybe of some use to them. Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Very kind of you. Okay.
Specific to NarayanGowda sir, there are questions that you can take up, sir. Also, from the academic point of view, if these questions are asked from the in the interview, how should students handle it, not sounding too extreme on one side? That is somewhere you can guide the aspirants.
One issue that is the major issue for the farmers of this country, which needs some more deliberations apart from what Dr. Dalwai ji has made a mention. I fully endorse. He has given a comprehensive view, but still, I feel there is need for some more emphasis or some more input on marketing issue. As already been mentioned by him, marketing is the biggest challenge for the Indian farmers, and this problem is going to increase as the number of farmers are going on increasing year after year. Reason being, divisions and fragmentations are inevitable in our society. As a result, the number of holdings are going on increasing. Number of small and marginal farmers are also going on increasing. As you was rightly mentioning, it is over 86% plus is the small and marginal farmers in this country. And maybe next 10 or 15 years from now, it will be crossing more than 90%. And over the period, it is going to be small and marginal farmers in this country. Keeping these present and future developments, what should be preparedness to address the marketing is a big issue that everybody should deliberate and see a sort of a practical solution is being identified for this emerging problem. And if we look at what is the profit share from the field crops to the farmer and from the horticulture crops to the farmer, there is a wide variation. Of course, there are quite a number of studies that are being conducted, but most of them they center around this. In case of cereals and pulses to some extent, the profit share is between 45 to 50% by the farmers compared to what the farmer gets. Then if you take the fruits and vegetables, it's around 20 to 25%. And in case of floriculture, it is even less than that. That is the rate at which the farmer share compared to what the consumer is paying for that. So we need to see that how best we can reduce this gap. And there is a scope for reducing this. And we need to look at the present situation into consideration to minimize this gap. We know it cannot be totally erased. That's the reality, because there are so many players which we need to make use of it, which cannot be totally erased. Then how to minimize this is one area that requires some more thinking by each of you. When such questions are going to be asked, you should be able to give with more justification. And if you come to the small and marginal farmers, their margin of sale is comparatively less compared to larger farmers. Therefore, the profit margin what they are going to realize is very marginal, and as a result, they find it difficult to sustain in the farming. This is the ground reality. Then, if that is the case, only the best way is aggregating the farmers into smaller groups so that they can think of procuring the inputs at a reasonable cost. They can think of marketing their produce at a commendable price so that they can minimize even the overhead costs that are going to be incurred for transport, other things. See, what was happening in the yesteryears, most of these farmers were owning the so-called truck, the cart loads and bullock pairs, everything. Over the period, that is almost that is vanished now. Hardly you can see the bullock carts and a pair of bullocks in a house. I mean, the tractorization, other thing. This is almost coming to very minimal, very minimal. So therefore, when they want to transport a smaller portion of the produce to a nearby APMC or nearby town, you understand how much is the cost that's going to be involved. And you have to hire a tractor or a auto or a tempo, depending upon the quantum of produce they have. And do you know what is the present cost of each of these things? Many times it is not affordable for the individual families. Then, what is the best way of addressing this? It is to go for farmers producers organizations so that they can take up these things together, not only from the point of transport, from the point of bargaining and getting a better price for the farmers. This becomes inevitable. And the Honorable Prime Minister in 2021 has declared that to establish 30,000 FPOs across the country. Of course, they are the prominent promoters are this NCDC, NABARD, couple of them are the Small Farmers Consortium. They're all the agencies with through so many other development departments and other organizations. They are promoting this, establishing the farmers-based institutions. And if they are going to come in good return spirit with all the good focus and positive mind, possibly the marketing of the farm producers can be addressed to a greater extent. I knew that this cannot be a only one solution to see that this has been addressed, but this is one option that can be always kept in the back of the mind, and certainly we can look for a bright future for the farmers organizations to take the responsibility of selling their produce to a nearby market or even far off places so that they can get the best price for their farm produce. Then yet another thing is, of course, Dr. Dalwai ji has made a mention going for value addition processing, and not overemphasize again. But that is the area that requires a lot of that is called the greener area of Indian agriculture development, in my considered opinion. Because if you are going to process the produce, certainly there will be higher profit, and it can be stored in the off season, used within the different parts of the country, and export to other countries when they are going to be processed to the standard international standards. That is what the need of the area. That requires a lot of preparations and support from the government. Sensitization also is required. Of course, this is going on, but still the speed at which is going on is not to the expectation. That's what I'm observing. It should have been taken up on a high priority basis, possibly even doubling of income. The major share of the income will come from this area. When actual data are going to be available at the national level, possibly Dr. Dalwai ji may give some more additional information on how the doubling income is possible. And of course, only one my concern is, even today, we don't have correct data on what is our domestic requirement of various farm producers, particularly cereals and pulses. What is our domestic requirement? If that is there in the place, and if similarly the fruits and vegetables, you know what is happening for the fruits and vegetables for last couple of decades. For example, tomato, over the period, if you take in a given year, there will be two downfalls and 2-3 ups are also there. And this is all because we are not able to make a countrywide plan regarding what is our the total domestic requirement, what is the opportunity for storage, including cold storage, then what is the opportunity for export. Had we taken stock of these things, possibly the price fall would have been controlled to a greater extent. Since we don't have a correct data on this thing, this problem is repeating over the years. And we talk of so much of going to moon and other thing. Are we not able to solve this problem is a question most of the time bothers me. But only thing, there is a lack of serious will on the part of the government to address this on a foolproof basis. If you are going to take this end-to-end issues, which Dr. Dalwai also made a mention, most of the time we do one thing in the chain, we forget the other things. In the process, we'll end up in problems what we are encountering today. If you were to address end-to-end issues right from the beginning to the end, including processing, marketing, storage, whatever that is, then the problem of what is called the downfall of prices and even throwing to the roads, so many things what is happening, all these things can be minimized, although it cannot be 100% addressed. We also understand that. But if we can minimize the wastage, nothing like that. And as he was mentioning, more than 1 lakh crore is the wastage that's going on, even at a very conservative estimate. Yet another problem, what is going on in this country, is the threshing issues. Across the country, what is happening now, in most parts of the country, if I'm right, that it is being done on the roadside threshing. On the roads, this is being threshed. You just imagine what is the wastage that's going to happen, what is the quality of grain that we are going to get, what is the impact of this on the health of the people having get threshed on the roads. Even this is another serious issue that requires to be given a lot of attention. Then, as far as the marketing is concerned, one more issue I would like to throw a light. See, we have got three levels of farm producers in the country. Broadly, of course, we cannot be exactly classified. There are very minor producers that are being produced by each family across the country. Minor producers means we have got biofuels, we have got in this part of the state like sesame, mustard, but in northern part, mustard is being grown in large scale for the oil consumption, other thing. But in this part, it's being grown on a small scale. But a family wants out of that, half of that, remaining half they wanted to sell it. If they want to take these 2-3 kgs to a nearby market, just imagine how much is the cost that's going to be involved for transport, other things. On the other hand, we already have a well-knit milk production system, milk procurement system that can be very well utilized. You know, the milk societies works for about 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. Even it may stretch about 3 hours for the whole day. Remaining 9 to 3, we have got very much leisure time available, where there is a manpower, there is a building, there is a machinery to weigh and take it. Everything is there. But I think it should be given some nominal additional support system to do this thing. So these minimal producers can be procured at that level without asking the farmer to go to far off places. That's how we can get maximum benefit to the farmer, and even payment, everything will be transparent. The second thing is the procurement of the MSP declared producers, which was mentioning around 25 at the present level, present status in the country. Each of them, they can be procured at the panchayat level. Instead of asking them to take it to the APMC yard, which is generally for some people even 20 kilometers away from the taluk headquarters, you just imagine how much is the cost involved in that. Can you not think of having a system to procure at the panchayat level so that the overhead cost can be minimized, even transparency can be also ensured, and many other things they can also take care of, quality, other thing. So this is the place where they can think of procuring so that market can be streamlined to a greater extent without interference in the middlemen and overhead costs. The third level is the third producers are our fruits and vegetables and other animal-based producers. They can be done at the wobbly level, because those people who are producing these fruits and vegetables, they are better off compared to others. They can afford to bring it to a wobbly level. That is the 4 to 5 panchayats together is the wobbly level headquarters, so that these can be again coupled with cold storage and also linking to the places where it can be taken to far off places. Everything can be done from there itself, so that the 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 extent of loss that's going to be incurred in the whole process can be minimized, and even intermediates can be kept at minimum. So the profit margin can be given to more to the farmer. This is the area requires, in my concern opinion, rather a reasonably a permanent solution for the farmers to get better prices for the farmers. So this is what, of course, Dr. Dalwai has made a comprehensive view, but that I wanted to supplement it, keeping the current developments that is going on in this country, across the country, it is being seen. Okay, now we'll take up any specific questions that you are going to ask for over and above what has already been covered, because most of the questions are already been answered. But still, I have some questions. I would like to see forward for that. Okay, please.
So the question on farm loss, is it still necessary, and what is the future ahead about farm loss?
Yeah, of course, Dr. Dalwai ji has already mentioned comprehensively on the necessity of these things and the certain three formulas. He has mentioned one that's very much required. Possibly, I also endorse that is required, but there should be not be a compulsion for the farmer. There should be opportunity for farmer to choose. But all those things, in my opinion, all those becomes nullified if these three system, what I have suggested, if they are being practiced in letter and spirit, that is panchayat procurement at the so-called milk producers cooperative societies level, all our minor producers, then the farmer will be very happy to hand it over and say goodbye to whatever that he gets from that with a predetermined price. He will be most happiest person. And once it is being procured at the this panchayat level, which are easily accessible within 3 to 4 kilometers for every village, they can be easily done. Then the homely headquarters, they are the very much essential, because we can't have a the processing. I mean the cold storage and other things at Debuli panchayat level. We have to go to that level so that it will be economically viable to have procurement center there and sell it to any part of the state, any part of the country, and even export also they can do it right from there if they maintain the export standards. So from that point, in my considered opinion, the three formulas should be looked at from this spirit rather than from the spirit what the government has thought over. That's what my observation.
So there are questions about agricultural income tax. Should it?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. I fully agree with that. As in now, the agriculture families are exempted from the income tax in my with my knowledge, but the farm producers are being taxed, particularly those who are going for the VAPs, that is valuation processing. That the GST is being attracted for the farm producers. Uh, Recently, for the milk there is no tax. I mean GST. For a curds, for a ghee and other thing, we have the GST. Similarly, for all other valuated products in other crop, other enterprises also. My concern is, see whether it is for the valuated products or the main products, if there is a tax, ultimately is the farmer who is going to be affected, because the processor is second another person, producer is one person. What the processor will do, he will not bear the profit margin being reduced, or is not prepared to agree with that. Therefore, whatever the tax that is going to be paid by him, is going to see that is being levied on the farmers. So ultimately, it's going to the farmer is going to be affected for this. So, in my considered opinion, the income tax is other side, but what we are now presently concerned is GST. GST should be done away for all the agriculture produce, whether it direct or indirect producers called the value-added products. That should be exempted. That's what my opinion, because that's going to affect the income of the farmers at the end of the day.
So about GM crops and the recent controversies related to GM technology.
Yeah, this itself is a very controversial issue because it's being talked up so much at the national level, global level. When BT Brinjal came, a lot of discussion went on, and at the end of the day, they said there is no need for BT Brinjal. Reason what I am telling, there are some producers which are required in smaller quantities, and there is no need for the GM technology for such this one. But there may be some crops and enterprises required in larger quantity, not only for the local market but also for the global market. There they can think of looking for GM technology. But from the health point, from the other societal point, what are its the plus and minus needs a lot of deliberations. So, in my concern opinion, if the technology is sound enough to take care of all these health issues, nothing wrong in taking forward because it has some advantages. For example, in GM crop, in GM technology in cotton, it has the sufficient advantage in taking care of cotton bollworm and other important pests in cotton. Similarly, in other crops also, if a particular variety or a hybrid is able to withstand any of these disease-resistant, insect-resistant characters, nothing wrong in taking it because it is going to minimize the use of chemicals and other things to control that. From that perspective, it's certainly good. But from the nutrition point, other thing, whether it is also going to fulfill that, that has to be certified, that has to be taken care of for its introduction anywhere in the country. It has to be looked at from a wider perspective. That's what my thinking on these things. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. About two questions, sir. A
Okay.
balance between land acquisition and farmers' interest.
Yeah, this is a very tough question, in my opinion. But when you want to expand our industries, our other non-agriculture based activities, there is need for acquisition of land for those purposes. Even for roads, development of a country, prosperity of the country goes with roads. That's one parameters. That being the case, there is absolutely need for acquiring the land for non-agriculture purpose from the agriculture purpose. Even Dr. Dalwai was also making a mention that should be kept at the back of the mind when it comes to the question of taking away the farmland for other purposes. He was making a mention the total cultivable area in this country is around 140 million hectares. That is around 41% of the total geographical area of 328 or 29 million hectares. And it can even go down to 30, 33%, so that we can still meet the food requirement and other requirements of this country. If that being the case, we need to give a balance between the land going to be acquired for other purposes, industries, roads, housing, and so on and so forth. Naturally, it has to be given from a right spirit. There is need for using taking away land. But only my point is the land that's going to be acquired for this, only they should take care of non-arable land. Non-arable land and arable land. Arable land are fit for agricultural right purposes. Non-arable land are not fit for agriculture. Our very barren land, not fit for ideally crop cultivation, certainly they can be concentrated. Not the most fertile lands, which are very much required for the agriculture productivity. That has to be kept in the back of the mind while going for acquisition of land for other than agriculture. This is the one that has to be kept on the focus. But at no point it should come down. It should not come down less than 34-35% of the total area under cultivation in this country should be earmarked for agricultural loan, because it is not only present day population. You know what is the population trend in next 10 years or 15 years from now? It is likely to cross 150 million. I mean 150 crores. So to meet the 150 crores population, we need to see that that much of area should be kept under our control to meet the food productivity of the country.
Yes, sir. So, one question in terms of what is the success towards millet production and what is the way forward? And after that, one last question, sir.
Yeah, you are certainly right. As far as the millets, we call it as nutri millets. And fortunately, tomorrow in Bangalore, there's a big millet mela, and that's why Dr. Dalwai ji is also going to come to Bangalore tomorrow. And there's a 3 days millet mela that's going to be organized at Bangalore. Of course, it has been done, organized in the couple of days in different parts of the state, different parts of the country. It's going on. The reason being, millets are advantage in terms of providing the best nutrients for the consumers. That's one area that has to be looked in the back of the mind, unlike the other cereals. Yeah, there was a question on Nutri Millet by Prashant on behalf of the our aspirants. In my considered opinion, there is need for increasing the area under the millets because they are easily cultivable even by average farmer without higher investment, and that is also required for their consumption besides selling portion of that to the other farmer, I mean the society. But what is required from the government point, the price that has been awarded for the nutri millets, maybe jawar, ragi, and a couple of other millets, it has to be increased substantially so that the profit derived from the millets should be attractive to the farmers. Then only it is possible to uh, encourage the farmers to cultivate more of millet area than what they are producing now. This is what my suggestion to the government and also to the farmers to go with this millet crop. Okay.
Yes, sir. So, one last question, sir, in terms of the rich and the poor farmers. Many government
Any further questions?
last one question, sir. In terms of the rich and the poor farmers, the idea of how facilities are reaching largely the rich farmers and poor farmers and landless are still troubled. Along with that, technology when it comes to e-technology, e-governance or m-governance is still access to the lower grade of farmers is still weak. So, any specific suggestions in that direction?
Yeah, that's a very appropriate question regarding the small farmers getting the benefit of the modern, uh, what is called the modern gadgets support, and also getting the benefit from the government. Yeah, that's a very important question. One thing, fortunately, now mobiles are easily accessible to most of the farmers, even these marginal farmers, small farmers, family members do own a mobile. Therefore, we can reach most of the programs that are available to the farmers through this so that they can be empowered to make use of that. That's one thing. Then availing those benefits is a big challenge. Once they're aware of, doesn't mean that they're going to avail it. Here, the farmers producer organization should come to the rescue of these farmers, this type of farmers, so that they can play that a facility role in getting the benefits for the respective farmers, for the respective enterprise. That's where we can find a solution. Then, yet another thing that we have strongly advocated, which has not figured in the discussion so far, is promoting integrated farming system. See, the farmers are having very low land holding, that is anything around 2 acres to 3 acres. Within that, how to make a farmers living more profitable, more satisfiable is a big challenge. And going for a monocrops has so much of limitation. Suppose if there is a weather issues that are coming in the way, if there is a failure of crop, they may find it difficult to sustain. And even if there is a heavy pest incidence, it's unexpected, and if they lose the crop, then also they find a difficult one. If there is a price fall in that severely for that particular piece of crops, then there is also a big challenge for the small farmers. Therefore, what we are advocating, of course, UAS Bangalore is champion advocating the farmers to go for integrated farming system. The integrated farming system is the true solution for the Indian smaller marginal farmers in particular, wherein they can go for more than half a dozen to even 1 dozen enterprises so that the farming can be made more sustainable. Not only from the point of getting at least some income in the years of distress, but also making eco-friendly farming system. Here, we are not only advocating agriculture crops, horticulture crops, livestock enterprise, including fisheries, apiary wherever it is possible, and so on and so forth. Even forestry component, agroforestry component also we are advocating them. Therefore, the farmer can be more comfortable with this system even under the so-called extreme situations of weather impact. I will give one example. In the northern Karnataka, last year, we had a heavy rain and many of the field crops were lost. Had there been at least out of 3 acres of land, if they have earmarked 1 acre of land for the horticulture crop, perennial horticulture crops, possibly they would have been more comfortable. So my point of enabling the farmers to be more comfortable in the coming years is, for to the smaller marginal farmers, is to go for the what is called integrated farming system, so that land can be utilized efficiently, natural resources can be best used, and the water resource also can be utilized very satisfactorily, and what is the output from one enterprise can be input for another enterprise. The best combination is whatever the agriculture produce you get in terms of straw, other thing, that can be fed to the livestock, and whatever the what is called the dung and urine that you are going to get, that can be plowed back to the farming. As a result, you can minimize the external inputs that you are going to utilize, so that you can always keep your soil healthy and hale. And our Indian soils are becoming depleted in terms of the organic carbon, which is like the a pulse rate to the human being. So if that is being maintained very well, possibly the health of the soil is maintained, means the productivity always can be always maintained to the expectation, and farmers can always reap higher profit margin because of this reason. So integrated farming is the true solution for the Indian farmers in the coming years. But I think the marketing has to be streamlined at these three levels, which I have made a mention, and that whereby we can avoid the middlemen, we can avoid overhead cost, transport, other things, and the transparency will be there on the system, because all local peoples are going to be observers of whatever that is going to happen there. Because if a farmer is going to a urban place and he will not have voice to speak, he has to only say whatever they give. He has to come back with that. But here, he will always have the right to ask the things and get his justice being ensured. Okay. Any questions? You can talk over phone also, because now there is some this one. Otherwise, if you can still talk, I can catch you. This integrated farming is the best solution for the climate smart agriculture, and certainly farmers and the society at large can be very comfortable with this type of integrated farming system in place. Yeah, if he has written in that hobby, there will be certainly a question: what is the present state of bee in the country? What is the opportunity compared to the existing and the opportunity? When compared to other countries, there is a lot of opportunity for the beekeeping. Reason being, our consumption is not even one-fourth of the global standards as per the bees, any bee is concerned. So, in order to enhance that, naturally, we can encourage every farmer, particularly integrated farming system farmer, to take up this 1 or 2 boxes in their farming, so that whatever that is required for the house they can consume, and excess they can go for marketing. There is so much of opportunity. First, secondly, almost all the crops requires a cross pollination support. It's only the honeybees which are doing that job, with this being not noticed by most of us. It is doing its job so silently, and if the more number of honeybees are there in our environment, certainly it adds to the productivity levels in all the crops. That's what our concern is. There's a great potential for expanding honeybee, and again, the government of India has established honeybee development board about 2 years back, if I remember correctly, and that is promoting the what is called taking up of training, and then promoting these boxes, and then honey collection, honey processing, then packing and sending it to the consumers. Only again here, what is required is a group that is required to be formed. Individually, farmer cannot think of going for processing another thing, because if a farmer is producing only 1 or 2 kgs, he may require 1 kg, another 1 kg want to sell it. How to sell it? See, you can't take it in a unorganized packing. Nobody will going to purchase it. But if it is going to be processed, packed neatly, and with a brand name, people are also willing to purchase it. So that's where the real crux of the problem, which needs to be addressed as to the APD is concerned. And we have so much of potential in India, unlimited opportunities there. Okay.
Right, sir. So, thank you, sir. That should be the close of the session in terms of question and answers. Thank you so much for being present with us till the end of the
Yeah,
session.
only general instructions to the candidates now,
Yes, sir.
which I would like to share for 2 3 minutes, because I had the privilege of being in the UPSC for 2 years. Just for information, that's all. But they need to keep that in the back of the mind. I will just open it. But if it is being told also, but not it may be a repetition, not at the cost of repetition. Doesn't matter. That should be followed with more seriousness. What my point of concern here is, see, when you get into uh, the interview hall there, before you are sitting, see that you should wish the, if there is a lady, first wish them, or even two ladies, wish them together, and then the other members who are there, including the chairman. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever that is the time that you are going today, that should be done. That's the first and the foremost. Before you are going to take your chair, and after telling this, the chairman will tell you to sit on the chair. Then he will ask you to introduce for about 1 or 2 minutes, or 2 or 3 minutes, depending upon the chairman. What my concern here is, when you want to introduce, be careful in doing that, because there are some questions which are going to be raised based on the introduction you are going to give. So, those information, what you are going to introduce to the house, on every point of that, it should be very clear. For example, you just say, I come from a rural area and I come from an agriculture family. I have studied my primary, middle school in our rural area, or in our village and surrounding places. And then you move to high school or college or degree, whatever that is there, you can give it. A brief introduction of that, that should not be take more than, less than 1 to 1.5 minutes, or maximum 2 minutes, you should be able to plan in such a way. The moment you say that I come from a rural area, what is the rural-urban divide in this country? What is the parameter to say rural area and urban area? Okay, so the question, what I am telling, the way in which you are going to introduce will also allow them to ask for some questions. So you should be prepared for what is the percentage of rural people in the country compared to urban people. To be called as a rural, what is the criteria that's been fixed by the government of India or the state government? So some of these type of questions are going to figure. So when you introduce yourself, you should make yourself a good practice before a mirror, before you go for the interview, so that what you are going to introduce, it should be very clear, and you should not ask for uh, calling for questions. And even if they is going to calling for questions, you should be prepared to answer for such questions. That's the way you should be prepared. That's what one suggestion, one input I would like to give it to you, so that you please uh, make a good exercise of this thing before you go for the interview. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Is it okay?
Yes, sir. That was very insightful. Thank you so much in terms of the larger
Am
idea.
I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. We are able to
Okay.
hear you.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other clarification they can ask for? No problem. We can even meet sometime later also.
Yes, sir. There are quite a few students from horticulture and agriculture background who are giving interviews, sir. So, if need be, we'll request you for a one-to-one session with some of them students. So, the technical aspects and general aspects can be addressed with them.
Yeah, only one input for the agriculture and horticulture, including animal husbandry, if they are got through these mains. Since you are from this background, there will be some questions relating to agriculture and allied sectors. And whatever Dr. Dalwai ji has made a mention, he has given a very comprehensive information, including the statistics also. Be precise in the statistics, latest ones as far as possible, so that you can answer with very much specific answer to those questions. So you have to be sure with that will be at least about 30 to 40% of the questions will be on agriculture allied sectors for those who are coming from agricultural, I mean, those who are going with agricultural background. So be prepared for those things. Again, it depends on the expert members who are going to sit there. If they are having some agriculture background, naturally they will be inclined to ask more questions on agriculture. But if they are generalists, they may ask some general questions, maybe on the nutrition security and the present day Indian farmers' problems, and couple of such general questions they may also like to ask for you. So whatever may be thing, be prepared for all types of questions that are going to be raised. Whether it is more deep questions or the so-called general questions on agriculture. And again, what is the budget allocation for the uh, over the period for agriculture? That also, unfortunately, we have not touched that. Of course, I was thinking that OIG was going to make a mention, but possibly on first or second, the budget will be out, and there will be some questions on the budget allocation for agriculture and allied sectors. Be prepared with accurate figures because it has emerged only 2 3 days back. Because I was told some people are going to attend the interview on second, third, or fourth. Even when we had this mock interview a couple of days back. So for such students, be prepared with the latest allocation for the agriculture. And there may be a question whether the justification is there for the allocation of budget for agriculture. Of course, I have always a strong debater of this thing. Reason being, when you have more than 60%, of course, the percentage is being debated in so many forums. How much is the total number of people depend on agriculture? But one thing, what I'm trying to observe, it is more than 60% of the people who are dependent agriculture, in my conceived opinion. Reason being, there are directly engaged people who are dependent agriculture. There are indirectly engaged people, that is the laborers, the so-called farm laborers, and others who are dependent on the agricultural allied sectors. That being the case, when 60% of the people are dependent agricultural allied sectors, what is the budget allocation for this sector is not in proportionate to the number of population or people engaged in this. That's what my observation. But if the people who are from the agriculture sector, if they are going to raise a question on this thing, you should be able to give it justification why there should have been, why there is that much of allocation. It should have been more. When you want to say more, you should be prepared for giving good justification. Okay.
Yes, sir. That was extremely insightful, and specifically the last part to address the students of agriculture and horticulture background was very specific. Thank you so much, sir. Very sincere gratitude and thanks for being present throughout the session till the end and answering almost every question that student has raised. From the entire team and management of India for IAS, we extend a very heartful gratitude to you, and we look forward to also meeting you in having a specific session to some of our students here in the academy also, sir.
Only one last information to be known to all of you. The doubling of the income of farmers has come from a project implemented by UAS Bangalore under my leadership between 2005 and 10 at in the Dodlapur Tugire area. And we had about 32 scientists with me. We implemented this for 5 years. In this, the major initiatives were: number one, we started promoting for every farmers integrated farming, because that is the one way of securing the farmer to get at least some income in distress situation. Number one. Number two, we aggregated the farmers into groups, farmers-based associations, including Jackfruit Farmers Association, the Biofuel Farmers Association, value addition processing of various millets and other things. That's also another ladies group we encourage. Organic-based Farmers Association, and even Fish Farmers Association, we also promoted like that. All this thing has really made doubling, not even tripling the income of the farmers by these initiatives. Not only going for productivity increase and other thing, that's one aspect. Integrated farming was the second aspect. Organizing farmers into groups is another one. Enabling them to take up the marketing, another thing is a next one. Going for processing validation is another. Like that, all this group of initiatives that made the farmers more comfortable in that whole area. And we covered around 8,500 families, and these families felt so happy. There was a shift in our whole family, what is called the way of living, the income generation, our children's education, health, family nutrition, so on and so forth. And quite a number of visitors came, including planning commission people, and lot of people came and visited. And one fine day, when Devagowda ji was the chairman of the parliamentary delegation, he went to Gujarat to see how agriculture growth rate is going much higher in Gujarat compared to other states. And at that point of time, in the wrap-up meeting, some the vice chancellors of that Gujarat state and secretary, they said, what is going on in US Bangalore is much better than what we implemented here. Why can't you go and visit there? Then next day, after coming out to Bangalore, he called me over phone. What is this? People are mentioning in Gujarat about what is going on in US, Bangalore, and Karnataka. I am not aware of. Then I said, of course, I did mention in 2008 and 9. For some reason, it was not catched up. Anyway, sir, if you are interested, please visit. We'll be happy to take you around. Then 2013 February, around this time, we took him and shown him what has been done in that villages, and he interacted with the farmers associations, so many things for a whole day. Morning 10:30 he came. He was there up to 5 o'clock, even having a lunch there only. Then at the end of the day, he said, "This is a project. This is the type of work that is required for the farmers of this country. If I get an opportunity to become the prime minister, I'll see that this is being replicated for the whole country." This is what he said. Then thereafter, what has happened? In 2013, the MLA election came. Somehow he was busy with that. 2014 MP election came. He was busy. He could not concentrate on this promise that he has made. In 2015, one fine day in the morning, around 5th or 6th of January, he called me. See, that project report, if you can give it, I'll take it to the Modi ji and hand it over so that it can be taken for the entire country. That was he said. And we prepared this report for nearly 15 days again, giving the latest touch for that. We handed over to him around 20th of January. On 30th of January, he fixed an appointment with Modi ji, our Prime Minister, and he handed over this whole report explaining this is the type of farming system or farming what is called the program that is required for the development of farmers. And after having debated for nearly 1 hour with him, he handed over that report to Modi ji and he came. And of course, Modi ji took nearly about 6 to 8 months to constitute a committee. And finally, this was declared in 2016, doubling the income of the farmers by 2022. This is the background. Unfortunately, most of the people are not aware of this. Just for the information, what I'm trying to say, India is one of the richest countries in terms of the natural resources. We are poorly managing it. If it is being managed efficiently, we can not only double, even triple the income of the farmer. That is what my experience says. This is the last feedback for all the our youngsters who are getting into the UPSC. I hope with this type of encouragement from many of our experts like Dalwai ji and couple of others, you will have 100% confidence to participate in the interview effectively and be thorough with every subject with facts and figures. I was also telling on the other day, There are some issues which you should note down in a diary, because you may read it but you may forget it. Particularly those are figuring in the newspaper, you should be able to note down so that you can speak at that time with accurate figures and other thing. For example, last year we have received the highest rainfall in the history of this country. Maybe, of course, there is no exact comparisons when we received under this much of rainfall, but still, this is the highest rainfall that was received during last year. And you should have the facts and figures. How much is the rainfall that we received? But there may be some question, because these are all very interesting questions. Of course, Indian agriculture mainly depends upon what monsoon it plays. Is the rainfall, which is the most important factor that is going to affect the entire agriculture success. So we need to be prepared with this type of questions. Anyway, with this, once again, I wish all of you the best in the upcoming interview. Go with confidence. Be clear in your what you are going to answer. Make it as sharp and as clear as possible within the shortest span of time. Only last advice is, suppose you are more interested to answer a question, I agree, but be precise in answering so that there will be time for everybody to ask the question for you. What is happening in UPSC is, if everybody asks the question, then you will have the chance of getting more marks. If the only questions are being asked by few people and others are only spectators, of course, they will be given time, but when most of the time is being consumed by the others, lastly, if they are being given very limited time, they may not be very comfortable to give the fullest marks what you deserve. So my point of concern is, try to crystallize the answer question clearly and answer within a few seconds to the best possible extent what you can do it. This is one area requires to be managed very efficiently. Only last, see that all the people are equally observed when you are going to answer the question. Do not have only one-to-one question, one-to-one answering type of question. Although you're answering the question that is being raised by a person, but still have a passing reference on all others so that they feel they are also involved in the process. So this is what my last advice to you. I'm sure with the type of support provided by India for 4AS, you'll be extremely inspired to do your best. All the best wishes to you. And I also congratulate Srinivas and Prashant, all other team members who are doing this devotedly, this type of exercise. Because, getting a person like Dalwai ji, even Ayyappan should have been here. Because of his mornings, I developed some health problem. That's what he asked for excuse. Nevertheless, whatever the point that needs to be shared for you, it's being shared to the extent possible, what I'm telling. But if there is still questions, nothing wrong in having one more discussion, depending upon the availability of time of the group and also yourself. Okay. All the best wishes once again.
Thank you so much, sir. The grit and the enthusiasm that you showed to go into the nitty-gritties and points and to reach out to every student was very thought-provoking. And at this age, to reach out to everybody is something, an inspiration that all youngsters should take it. And wishing once again a very heartful gratitude to you for sparing time for us, and to know that you were the initiator of the whole concept of doubling farmers' income was much more insightful. Thank you so much, sir, and we wish much more interactions continue. The whole family of India for IS, and big thanks once again, sir.
Wait, before I forget one point, I'll give one critical example that will going to inspire our group. See, biofuels, for example, the Pangemia, neem, and hippe, these are all very popular in South India. Of course, neem is common across the country. Do you know what was the price the farmers were getting before we brought them the organized? It's very interesting. That itself is a strong motivation for you how organized group can make a difference. In case of biofuels, the Pangemia was sold at 5 rupees a kg before we went for the organized biofuel growers association. And even the neem was paid around 7 rupees a kg. Hippe was paid around 4 rupees or 5 rupees a kg. That was the way the people are getting the price from this middleman. The cycle wala will go around the village, they collect it and then they take it to a place where they can sell it at whatever the price they are comfortable. But when we introduced the procurement through the milk society, we fixed a price. We'll pay them 15 rupees a kg of Pangemia, 18 rupees neem, and 15 rupees ippe. This was the way we told. And they felt so happy because earlier the people were not were reluctant to harvest it. What is this 5 rupees, all these things? Who wants this, all those things? And hardly even 25% was harvested during those days. Once we introduced this, do you know, cent% harvest was started. Even the old age women used to go and pick all those pangemia or other things available in their farm, bring it to the house and do it leisurely while looking to the TV, separating seeds and this one. Yet another interesting thing is even the school going children, they started collecting from the roadside trees and the school premises, other thing, and they used to give it to the milk society because we fixed the one Wednesday and Sunday as the place for procurement, not every day. Then even this SSG group, they were amazed to do this so much because the price was very respectable and it was available in the villages. And they went around this tank cut four sharers and public property areas where nobody was touching. All those being collected and being given to the our milk society, and the payment was then and there. And the procurement from the milk society was to be done twice a week by another vehicle engaged for that. Why I'm telling this? Once you bring the whole system of marketing and the organized group, how we can find a change? Earlier, we expected around 25% of the produce to come to the processing plant. Once we brought in the organized group, it was amazing. It was more than 80, 90% that is to come to the our processing center for processing. So this is only a small success story which has catch the even FAO attention. It has been published in the FAO, this particular article for the global purpose. So this is what is I am trying to say. The market has to be addressed. It is only the organized group that can do it. Only the people whom we are going to choose for this, they should be transparent. They should be of quality people, and that's how where the whole system can be made sustainable. Thank you. No more sharing. All the best wishes to every one of you. Good day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay then. Nice of you. Yeah.
Thank you to all the aspirants for being present in the end of the session. Hope this first session of knowing the real, doing the right makes the right noise and gives you the right information. And as you head towards the personality test, this will be the right guide. All the very best to all of you. Wishing you all the best as you prepare for the final hurdle in the civil services journey. All the very best. Wishing you all the best. Signing off for the first session. Thank you so much.